deep willow woods he shall remain, And never look upon your face again." The maiden, fancy free, was well content, And with light laughter gave her full consent; For when maids think of love, as maidens do, It seems a far off thing; and well she knew Her lover, if she loved, would be both brave and true. Not long thereafter came an errant band Riding along the edge of Fairyland, Stout men at arms, without reproach or spot, And in the lead the bold Sir Launcelot. He, riding on ahead, silent, alone, Was stopped by a beseeching ancient crone, Who hobbled to his side, as if in pain, And clutched with palsied fingers at his rein; And there behind her, from the leafage green, The sweetest eyes his eyes had ever seen Were gazing at him with wide wonderment; Nor bold, nor fearful; innocence unshent Shone from their blue depths, and old dreams awoke In Launcelot's breast, while thus the beldame spoke: a boon, Sir Launcelot of the Lake! I pray you of your courtesy to take This damsel to the king. Her enemies Have spoiled her of her birthright, and she flees An innocent outcast from the wasted lands, To lay her life and fortune in his hands." She spoke, and vanished in the woodland shade. Then Launcelot, leaning over, helped the maid To mount behind, and at an easy trot They and the troop rode on to Camelot. He asked no questions, for some fairy spell Made light his heart, and told him all was well. And as these two rode through the land together, By dappled greenwood shade and sunlit heather, Her soft voice in his ears, the innocent charm Of her light, steady touch upon his arm, Wrought magic in his soul. That day, I ween, Sir Launcelot well nigh forgot his queen. And Elfinhart, you knew those eyes were hers, Laughed with the silvery jingle of his spurs; And from her heart the new world's rapture drove All thought of Fairyland, excepting love. And so to high towered Camelot they came, The Golden City, now a shadowy name; For over heath clad hills the wild winds blow, Where Arthur's halls, 1,000 years ago, Bright with all far fetched gems of curious art, Shone brighter with the eyes of Elfinhart. She came to Camelot, the king receives her, And there are 5 glad years my story leaves her; 5 glad years, and this episode is done, And we are back again at Canto 1. I write of merry jest and greenwood shade, But tales of chivalry are not my trade; So if you wish to read that 5 years' story Of lady love, romance, and marital glory, The mighty feats of arms that Gawayne did, The ever ripening love that Gawayne hid 5 long years in his breast, biding his time, Go seek it in some abler poet's time. My tale begins with a young knight's brave soul, All Elfinhart's; she thinks herself heart whole. But at that Christmas feast in Arthur's hall, With night's soft mantle folded over all, The magic influence of the evening tide Stole on their 2 hearts beating side by side; And Gawayne talked of troubles long ago, When each man's neighbor was his dearest foe, And of the trials he himself had passed, And the high purpose that from first to last Had been his stay and spur, he scarce knew how, Since on Excalibur he took the vow. He told of his own hopes for future days, And how he wrought and fought, not for men's praise, Though, like all good men, Gawayne held that dear, Yet trusting, when men laid him on his bier, They might remember, as they gathered round it, "He left this good world better than he found it." He talked as true men seldom talk, unless Swayed utterly by some pure passion's stress; And ever gently, though with heart on fire, Still hovered nearer to his soul's desire. And Elfinhart in gravest silence listened, but her sweet heart beat high, her blue eyes glistened. For as he bared his soul to her she dreamed a daydream strange and new, wherein it seemed that in that soul's clear depth she saw her own, and his most secret thought, still then unknown, seemed hers eternally. He spoke of death, and then her heart shrank, and she drew deep breath. Suddenly, ere she understood at all what new life dawned before her, came the call of fairy horns, and so the Green Knight burst upon the scene as told in Canto first. One jarring note the tuneful chords among may make mad discord of the sweetest song, and so with dissonant clamor through the breast of Gawayne's rang the Green Knight's merry jest. But what wild meaning must it not impart to the vague fears of gentle Elfinhart? For she had heard in the first trumpet blast a signal to her from the far gone past, and now of all the strange things that had been, her half forgotten compact with the queen flashed through her memory, and a swift thought came like sudden fear, a thought without a name, an unvoiced question and a blind alarm, and in sheer helplessness she reached an arm toward Gawayne, scarcely knowing what she would. Her eyes beheld him, and she understood. "And is it Gawayne? He?" "Yes, Elfinhart, the hour has come, and you must play your part." So now it's all explained, and I intend To go straight onward to the story's end. Sir Gawayne had cut off the Green Knight's head, And Arthur and his court had gone to bed. In the great hall the dying embers shone With a faint ghostly gleam, and there, alone, While all the rest of Camelot was sleeping, In the dark alcove Elfinhart lay weeping. But as she lay there, all about her head There fell a checkered beam of moonlight, shed Through the barred casement, and she faintly stirred, For in her troubled soul it seemed she heard Vague music from some region far away. She raised her head, and turning where she lay, Saw in the silver moonlight the serene And tranquil beauty of the fairy queen. "We sent before you called us, Elfinhart, For love lent keener magic to our art, And warned us of the thoughts that in your breast Awoke new rapture, trembling unconfessed." And Elfinhart moved closer to her knees, And hid her face in the white draperies That veiled the fairy form, till, nestling there, Her heart recovered from the blank despair, And whispered her that whatsoe'er befell, Love ruled the world, and all would yet be well. And the good fairy stroked the maiden's head, And kissed her tear-starred eyes, and smiling said, "Fie on you women's hearts! Constancy hides her shamed head Where mortal women be. True love breeds faith and trust, it makes hearts strong, The heart's anointed king can do no wrong. And yet you weep as if you feared to prove him. Upon my word, I don't believe you love him." And Elfinhart replied, "Laugh if you will, my queen, but let me be a woman still. You fairies love where love is wise and just; We mortal women love because we must. And if I feared to prove him, I confess I fear I still must love him none the less." She paused, for once again her eyes grew dim. "Think you I love his virtues? I love him. But yet you judged me wrongly, for believe me, And then laugh once again, and so forgive me, If at the first I feared what you might do. My doubts were not of Gawayne, but of you." And so both laughed, and for a little